Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind Podcast, episode 266. Today we're talking property development lies. There are so many out there, and I'm going to rapid fire them to Bob, and he's going to yes, know them, debunk them, and talk through them. Okay, let's jump into episode 266. Welcome to episode 266. Today we're talking property development lies. Welcome, Bob Andersen.
Thanks, Hilary. Great to be here.
That's good. We're giving away the book. Lynnie Robertson, coming to you. You jumped onto the free lunchtime session we did on how to find property development sites inside our Property Developers Secrets and Hacks Facebook page. That's probably still up. That'll be there for a month before Facebook chooses to remove it. So if you want to jump on, there's a workbook you can download, and there's a video there that you can watch on finding property development sites. Anyway, Lenny, the book, someone will reach out and you will get this in the post if you're into reading, and if not, hey, it makes a fabulous gift to give away to somebody else. Alrighty, Bob, what's your tip for the week?
This is about lies. So it makes me think about Pinocchio. I think, don't tell lies or your nose will keep getting longer.
Bob is Pinocchio.
And stop looking at my nose if you're on YouTube.
Well, to tell the truth, well, there you go. But I don't know if Pinocchio's true, Bob.
Oh, who says?
Okay, well, there we go. That could be, in fact, lie number one.
Ah, okay.
Bit of a change up today, Bob.
I should tell people that you won't let me look at it in advance at these lies because you said, no, it won't be the same.
No, I'm going to rapid
These
fire.
are all out of left field. I can tell you I haven't heard any of them.
Yeah, but it's really just interesting stuff.
That'll be fun. I'm up for it.
A bit of a rapid fire today. So before we get started into the podcast, if you're enjoying it, hit subscribe and head over to YouTube, hit subscribe there. Also, if you think that there's something you'd like to know, you can write us a question there or reach out, and you might even win the book if that's what you'd like. That's how you win it. You just need to make a comment or contact us, put a comment on the YouTube channel, or subscribe wherever you listen. That makes it easier for the other people to find our podcast. Anyway, Bob, big questions. Here we go. Number one. Why do so many myths exist? Now, let's go. I'm going to change that. Why do so many negative myths exist around property development?
Why do they? Well, probably, I'd say through ignorance. I wonder what they might be. I've heard plenty of myths, like you have to be a multi-millionaire to be a property developer. Well, that's the biggest lie. We know that's not true. We know you need money, not multi-millions necessarily. But if you haven't got it, well, plenty of people do. All developers go broke. I've heard that one. That's another lie. They're big lies. How many do you want?
I might
you got some yourself?
I think we're going to come back into that.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking maybe along the lines of what I thought might be the right another answer to that is because we have the media who want clickbait, they often sell a story that's not really true, or they sell it from the wrong angle, or there's a bit more to some things. And some developers, there is some bad press, but there are myths around property development.
Yeah.
Okay, so number two, or next question, how dangerous can bad advice be? Well, actually, I was doing it's not really around lies, but I suppose that is. How dangerous?
Misconceptions, myths, whatever. Yeah, not just lies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so read that one again for me, Hilary.
So how dangerous can bad advice be? And where does it, I suppose, where can that exist?
I suppose we're talking about property development. I mean, bad advice is bad wherever it is. But when it comes to property development, bad advice can be very costly. In fact, I suppose it could sink you if it was bad enough, depending on what it's about. But what you have to watch is where you get your advice. And I think you and I have both seen plenty of examples where people have taken advice from the wrong people, e.g. friends, and I've used a story about the fellow who I met at one of our workshops who was getting very close to settling on a deal, and he did a feasibility. I looked at it. I could see it was wrong. I could see his bill price was ridiculously low, which made a bad deal look good. And I said, "Where'd you get that from?" And he said, "Oh, a mate of mine." I said, "Well, is your mate a builder?" His mate's a plumber. So the plumber is giving his mate a bill price which was way below the market. And he would have gotten into big trouble Fortunately, he could get out of that contract, and fortunately, he met me about 3 days before the door shut.
Yeah.
But that's bad advice from the wrong people. I often make the comment, do you go to the butcher to buy bread or do you go to the baker to buy meat? No, of course you don't. So, like, where you get advice is really important.
And that's with development, that's with finance, that's with, all of the stuff that goes with the development. You've got to get the right advice from the right people. You're exactly right. You're not going to buy your meat from the baker.
Yeah. I always sort of ask myself, does the person have a vested interest in giving me their opinion or their advice?
Or a big ego. Some people might like to act like they know more than they do. Or the other thing is they're well-meaning, Bob, but they really don't know what they're talking about, that they're just trying to help. That can happen too.
Yeah, it can too. And we meet that with lawyers sometimes who take the easy path out. A lawyer can't be accused of giving bad advice if their advice is no, don't do it. Yeah,
exactly. Don't talk to me about lawyers today. Honestly, lawyers today.
You had your hands full today.
Oh my goodness, I've been juggling lawyers. Why do they? Is it true that here's a lie? Why do lawyers put you at the front of the queue? Oh, that's a lie, because they don't, do they?
No, not normally.
No, they can be a bit slack sometimes, can't they? And just when we're talking about legal advice, we've had lawyers draw up documents in recent times that have just been incorrect.
Well, yeah, legal advice, accounting advice. Depends where you go. It's like accountants aren't accountants. Just to pick a professional qualification, accountancy. You see people at Westfield doing tax returns for, I don't know, it used to be $99. I don't know what it is now, a cheap tax return. They're not the accountants you would generally go to ask structural advice for a project, or any like business tax structured advice about anything really. So there's levels, and there's CPAs and non-CPAs, but then even within the CPAs, I've seen some really incorrect information come from accountants sometimes when people have said, oh, well, the accountant said do this. And you can tell, well, no, they don't fully understand the situation. And it could have something to do with anything. It could be, structure because of stamp duty or whatever it is. So, yeah, you've got to be careful where you get your advice from, for sure.
All right, we're moving on to money now, Bob. How much money do you need to become a property developer?
How much money do you need personally, or how much to do
Because the lie would be
guess?
You have to be rich. So let's break that down. So breaking that lie down, how much money do you need? I'm thinking obviously there's the joint venture partner option or a loan partner option where you'd have minimal or none. But let's go, you want to do your own. Why don't we talk about that thumb rule that we talked today on our free lunchtime session?
Well, we do have a little thumb rule. And look, most development finance these days is supplied by the non-bank sector and their commercial loans. So without going down the whole what is a non-bank and what is a commercial loan, a rough thumb rule, and it's a thumb rule, so it's not perfect in every situation, but a rough thumb rule is if you know what you're going to develop and what it would sell for and divide that number by 6, that's pretty close to how much cash you would have to put in. Remembering always that you put in some cash and the financier puts in most of it. So they're putting in, 75, 80% of all the money that you're going to need to do a project, which is pretty good. I like that. I wish they put in 100%.
Yes, that's called leverage.
Big leverage. But they put in most of it, and that's good news. So if you work out, well, how much do I need to put in? It's roughly that. The sale price of your project divided by 6, that's the cash equivalent.
Okay, Bob, we often hear that, no, we don't actually. We know that people think it's a certain type of person that can be a successful property developer. Obviously, that's a myth. It's untrue. What sort of people do we have in our community? Let's talk through some occupations and some ages of people who are property developing. Or like from the beginning of any time, give me 5 different ages that are very ranged, and give me 5 different careers that they're in.
The youngest person who has ever done our development, our mentoring program, was 18, but she was heavily supported by her parents who were right into property and investing. So that's a little bit different from your average 18-year-old. The oldest one, as far as I know, I think it's the record, and you know who I'm talking about, is in their 80s and developing projects. So age is anything in between. You could say, well, within our mentoring program at least, people doing projects, 18 to 80, that's a big swing. And
doing projects,
Yeah, average age? I don't know. Because
No, I'm not asking
it's
for
all over
average.
the shop.
The question is...
And their profession.
Yeah, let's do... So now give me some professions.
Well, look, I've had single mums doing developments, teachers. Teachers tend to like property, strangely enough. Look, builders. We've had quite a few builders through. I've had tradies, in the building profession, those sorts of people. Ambo, I had a couple of those.
People that have their own businesses.
Yeah, people have had their own businesses.
People that sell tools. I'm just going through who I can think of right now. Some people sell tools.
Telco people, bank people. When I say bank people, bank employees, we've had those.
Yeah, people also in the industry like town planners, a few of them, engineers, quite a few of them, coming right up to doctors and surgeons. The people that are in a sort of bigger money making capacity, probably profession.
But even they use structures and investors and the like too. Look,
chef.
It's almost easier to pick a profession that we haven't had over the years. Yeah. I mean, there's hundreds of people, so there's lots of professions. Yeah, interesting one, like farmers. Yeah, definitely had farmers.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, when you say that, I think of the people, I'm like, yeah. So they're the myth busters, really. It's really anybody. Oh, like so FIFO, anyone.
People think, I've had people say to me, oh, you have to be a builder to be a developer.
No,
you don't. We use builders. We engage builders.
But what I say to builders, when you're developing, because people think that and you want to have loan or equity partners, you just sort of let them believe that, because then they think you already are a developer and you don't have to explain that, no, I'm doing development, not building. But anyway, that's just a me thing.
Yeah.
Bob, what strategies can help people start sooner? People think, I'll wait until, that's the lie, is waiting till the perfect time. What strategies can help people start sooner?
Well, learning more about property development so you can get rid of that vagueness about what it is. Starting sooner. Don't wait until you've saved up enough equity of your own to do a project, because you'll probably just be chasing your tail. And if you're short of it, there's plenty of ways to get going, like I did, and plenty of other people. So, like you said, just waiting for all the ducks to be lined up. You only need one quacker out there to get it going, because once you start, as you know, start to get your ducks lined up, the rest will fall into place. And so a couple of quick ways to get started, if there is such a thing, is start off by educating yourself, for sure, and get to understand, just get out there and get involved. And
I'm going to add to that. I think it's great that people do the free stuff. Like we had that free session today in the Property Developer Secrets and Hacks Facebook group that we have. That was free, a 45-minute session on, finding a site, etc. But you have to really invest in yourself as well. Like you do have to, because the free stuff isn't enough. It's just not going to be enough to get your property developing. So if you have been just relying on that, it won't be enough. You will have to invest in yourself. And when you look at the other end, what you take home is quadruple, like how much more do you take home once you sell at the other end of your deal. So the investment is so minor.
It's 20, 50 times what you spend getting yourself educated you can make on your first deal. So it's just it's relative. But
I think it's a good idea to start on the free stuff, start listening to podcasts, start doing that. But when you're before you're ready, not when you're ready, before you're ready, get started. And another thing, Bob, that helps people get started is their mindset. You're either a thermometer or you're a thermostat. You either control your environment and say, I'm doing it now, or you let your environment control you and you don't do it and you wait until the perfect time and you don't do it. So I think that's a really good one to sort of be reminded of. Watch that internal thinking, watch what you're putting into your head, get the more positive stuff going in there, and just, why not you? Get that attitude.
Yeah, why not you? Plenty of others have. Why not you?
Exactly. Okay, when the market is hard, so people think here's the lie, the market's too hard. So here is my question: do developers make money in every type of market?
Well, markets are changing. They're liquid, they're fluid. If you think of all the drivers within a market, now we always think of interest rates. They drive a certain part of the market, population growth. Public sentiment, even there's a whole range of things out there that are moving and they're fluid. But underlying all of that always is that as developers, we're creating new property for people to live in. Whether they're an owner-occupier or an investor, it doesn't matter. We're creating property for people to live in. And the two requirements for life, you've heard me say it before, food and shelter, and we create shelter. And there's a strong demand in Australia for shelter.
Yeah, there is a lack of shelter.
A lack of shelter. And like generally speaking across the country, you can have little pockets that you get oversupplied, but pretty quickly they become undersupplied. So it's a moving thing. Look, my second project, it might have been, 23% interest I paid for my money, and I made a good profit. Yep. Yet people could do the wrong thing and be paying, 6% for their money and lose money because
it's based on the fees, though.
Yeah, it's not based on interest rates. Interest rates are relevant, but not too heavy. And there's other movers and things that happen in the marketplace as well. Interstate migration. I mean, there's so many drivers out there, but ultimately we're creating new product for people to live in.
And so why do opportunities still exist then in what you might deem as a difficult market? Because sometimes, there are times when there is a difficult market. The bottleneck being we can't find a site. The bottleneck being interest rates. People talk about them being high. There are plenty of bottlenecks. Financiers aren't as keen to loan. What opportunities still exist in those markets?
Well, there's opportunities everywhere you look. There's opportunities in different markets, in different locations, for different products, and it's always been that way. There's opportunities for land subdivisions, for building houses on land subdivisions, opportunities for duplexes. When we've done all these things, there's opportunities. I don't suggest you start with apartments, but there's opportunities there. Wherever you look, even beyond residential, and we nearly always talk about residential, but there's opportunities in the commercial market as well. Ourselves, in industrial projects. Childcare, there's opportunities there. Wherever you look, there are opportunities for developers, and it's a matter of getting that understanding or getting that knowledge. And as you said, getting a start is actually getting out there and talking to agents, going to properties that are up for sale, and just getting immersed in the market.
Yeah, and understanding where it might seem tight in this particular market, being, let's say, the townhouse market. I'm not saying it is right now, but if that was in your patch, it was tight there, maybe a particular market, and maybe the duplex market is not as tight, and that's working. Okay, so what changes that stops people giving up?
That stops people giving up?
Yeah, what changes inside people so they don't give up?
I think it's a mental thing, so they don't give up as well. So it's a big thing not to give up, not to be frustrated, not to be impatient. That's all head stuff. And look, there's going to be times like that in any business. And look, property development is a business, and each project is like a little standalone business. And the whole business of property development is what property developers do in development.
I love that, Bob. That's something we probably haven't really talked about enough on this podcast, is that it is a business and you have to treat it like a business. Even if you're doing it on the side, it is a business. And you look how much time, effort, money people put into their own business, and everyone rides that roller coaster in business. It's the same thing. Good spotting.
Yeah. And there's always speed bumps and detours in any business, as there is with property development. But I always say things are never like 100% fantastic or 100% bad. There's always a little bit of a mixture. More good than bad. That's why properties go up in value. That's why there's an undersupply generally of property. So it's certainly more good than bad, way more good than bad. But you have to realise that you've got to rejig sometimes, solve problems, solve issues, get around things, use your head, use your brain. Take good advice. I mean, it's the same in any business, really. And property is such a diverse, exciting business. That's why I'm still here. That's why you're still here.
So many opportunities are out there when it comes.
Oh, yeah.
So, Bob, the lie being, I need to find the perfect site. Does the perfect site exist?
It does. And every so often you'll find one where you actually start to worry because it's going too well. you found it easily and you thought, oh, why didn't someone else buy that? Why didn't someone else beat me? But you found it. And then, you're starting to get your approvals and council seem really happy and it seems to fly through council faster and easier than you thought. And it's starting to look, all those things happen. You get good finance and you get it quick and you get a good valuation. All those little bits, you think, you're sort of waiting. Well, where's the speed bump? When am I going to get a bit of a challenge? And you do have them that actually go that way.
How much does creativity matter when it comes to property development?
Creativity, well, a bit's good. What areas are you looking at creativity? I mean, you could take it down to things like design, but by the same token, you want to give the market what it wants. You don't want to be overly creative. You won't be reinventing the wheel.
This is under the lie of I need a perfect site.
Oh, you tell me.
Well, I'm thinking creativity exists here when it comes to perhaps how you set up the structure. That could be a creative, you could do a creative way with that, meaning you might decide to keep some stock, so that how you set that up would determine that. Also, another way that creativity might come into it could be the way you structure it with joint venture partners. Maybe you're not doing it on your own. Maybe you've already got a project underway. You find another one. It's like, crikey, this is such a good site. I really want to move forward. So you creatively put together something like that. You creatively, go out to the market and offer it to people and they want to jump on board. Another way you could be creative with that perfect site would be just seeing what other people don't. And that's often what you help mentoring students do when others have walked away and you find that site. Let's go back to Tom from 5 or 6 weeks ago, where everyone or people looked at that site and walked away, but he saw it differently than others and was able to make over $600,000 because he looked at it differently. He was more creative with it.
Yeah, he was too. And you got me all excited when you start talking about creative ways of structuring things and structuring finance and layering it. And we talk about creative finance strategies. We're all over that. And I've done projects where I've used 3 different creative finance strategies and structures in the one deal. And that's pretty exciting too. So that's being creative, you're right.
Yeah, so lots of creative ways when it comes to I need the perfect site. You can be creative and it turns into the perfect site. Yeah. The next one is the lie is builders know everything. Big lie. Why should developers not outsource everything to the builder?
Outsource everything? Well, because builders don't know everything. I guess there's certain things you can outsource to a builder. Like, for instance, there's a thing called a design and construct, where the builder takes some control over getting, say, a development permit or a building permit. So they're dealing with engineers and different people that you might normally deal with independently. They will, and that's okay. They've got a reasonable handle on that. Builders have shortcomings, finding sites, doing due diligence, crunching numbers, marketing, finance, to name a few. And the smart builders that want to become developers understand their shortcomings. That's why we end up with quite a few builders in our mentoring program. Because builders are good at building, well, generally. Yeah. Builders are good at building and builders are good at design, generally speaking. But that's only a couple of skills within property development. And of course, a property developer doesn't need those 2 skills because we hire a good builder. So to say that builders know everything or can do everything for you is not correct.
So I'm talking then, let's go down what really is the developer's responsibility instead of trusting that the builder should be doing something. What is left over for the developer to do?
Well, find a site, due diligence, structure, finance, development and permits and building permits as well. So you're dealing with architects and engineers doing that. A lot of people would just do all that, and a lot of developers would, and then tender for a builder. So the builder's role then becomes pricing the job, winning the job.
Doing the job.
Putting a contract together, doing the job, completing it and delivering it well. That's what a good builder does. And that's an important part of a project, but it's only part of a project. It's not all of a project. And there's a lot of other smart stuff that has to happen. But ideally, a good builder. A good builder's a joy. You've always heard me say that. Very few occasions have I had a builder I really made a mistake on, only a couple of times. But that's not a joy.
Bob, how do you build the right team while staying in control? Because ultimately, it all falls back on you, the developer. So how do you build that right team?
Well, it might fall back on you, the developer, which is a really good thing because the developer is the leader of the development. And it needs to be that way. So as a leader of the development, we pull a team together. It's like we're the captain coach of a footy team or something, and we're pulling the players in. We need a good halfback. So we pull in a good halfback. The halfback could be the architect, and you could go through a football team and you could say, oh well,
I'm going to do
who's
that
this?
now. It's going to be my new favourite thing to do.
The real estate marketer at the end could be the winger.
Yeah, I was just thinking that is definitely the winger. Yeah.
A bit showy and wants to score some points.
Yes,
a little bit different from the hard yards. If you're following rugby,
The builder and the
number one and number three in rugby.
The builder and the developer, probably, and maybe even the town planner. They're the front row.
Yeah. Either 1 and 3 or 11 and 13 if it's rugby league, but that's who it is. But a good team, yep. Look, as the developer, you're responsible for the team. You're responsible to pick a good team. But boy, geez, having a good team, it's just gold for a developer. And once you've got a good team or good consultants, the great thing is that you can keep using them.
Honestly, it is such a joy to work with a good team, and we always do. But on occasion, for a particular reason, we've got to go to a different team or different team member. And that might be, we're working with a team, but we need a different lawyer to do a different part of it. We go somewhere else, which is, we've had that happen in recent times. And that, dropping of the ball and, all those little things that you realise what a good team is. So I had the same experience a while ago. I heard of somebody actually who had the same experience with a broker. Ours are just so good. I don't know, they're just great. They're great to work with. And then the experience, when you have an experience with a team member that's not great, oh my goodness, it's exhausting.
Yeah,
it actually uses energy. Yeah. Negative energy comes into your life. I feel sorry for the people who have that negative energy.
Yeah. So there's a skill and an art in choosing the right sort of team.
Yeah.
And one that's cohesive. Look, we had a great architect when we were doing some of the resi stuff, like the duplexes, for instance. And then we switched over and then we did some industrial projects. Now, that architect is capable of designing industrial stuff. I mean, architects spend 5 or 6 years at uni. However, we went to a specialist architect who was noted for doing really good high-tech industrial units, which is what we wanted to do. And it turned out that way. Great architect. So different architect, different team member, but a good one also.
Part of a good team. And on top of that, then our builder has been a great part of the team. And he had a tip. He was like, I think we should actually change this. And we took that advice as well. We took it on board. So a good team will work together and make those alterations, and it's all about the end result. Everyone getting paid, everyone making a profit, and everyone having a good experience. So, yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, so some of the team members from the residential developments we carried over into the industrial developments. People like the town planner, who's done plenty of industrial approvals, same lawyer, and a few others as well. Same certifier, who does quite a bit of industrial.
Same broker.
Same finance broker. Yep.
I'm just thinking... Same lender,
different architect, different engineering firm.
Yeah,
a couple of changes there.
Okay, Bob. So now the lie. Oh, it's really hard for me to say because sometimes it feels like they are. The lie is the council's always against me. Sometimes they can be a bit tough. Okay, so is council really trying to stop development?
I'm stopping and thinking here. No, generally not. No.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a big shot at councils.
Yeah.
And some councils at some times. And remember, councils can change. Their attitude can change. Different election, different permanent people elected to a council can change, and therefore the overall ethos can change as well, because you've got elected members at the council who have quite a lot of say. From the mayor, for instance, and the different alder people, aldermen, alderwomen, whatever they are, they have quite an influence on council. Then you've got the permanent employees; they're always there. People who actually look at your project, but they can be swayed a lot by the elected members as well. So. Things can change, is what I'm saying. Just council's been pretty hard now. 4 or 5 years they could be a different council, and I've seen that happen. And look, some councils are a bit more proactive, a bit more pro-development than others. That's a fact. But I think with councils, it's good that the state government has put quite a bit of pressure on councils in recent times, and we've seen changes in Victoria to a lot of the DAs, a lot of the more fast-track methods of getting approvals through, and councils have just been forced to go along for the ride, and some have embraced it, some less so. New South Wales, similar, and to some extent Queensland as well. Hopefully we'll see it in South Australia and Western Australia in due course too. So not all councils are against us, but some more than others, but some are very pro-development. I've mentioned our industrial developments. Look how good that council was. Because there's a shortage of industrial product in this particular council area where we're just finishing constructing one. In a matter of a week or so and we'll be finished building. And council really wanted more industrial land, more industrial buildings built in the council, because they were getting a lot of inquiry from businesses wanting to move into that council area, but there just wasn't enough around. There wasn't enough land, wasn't enough buildings. And so they were very proactive in encouraging initially industrial people to subdivide the land, but then developers to go in and develop stuff like we've gone in and done it. And so we had a pretty good ride. You know, it was actually so enjoyable. And council were very helpful, and it went through well.
So that is a myth that council generally won't be against you. Probably, if anything, they're just a bit slow. But like you said, the state government stepped in and speeding things up, so that's a good thing. What role does preparation and good relationships play with interaction with council?
Well, a lot of the interaction will be through consultants, so town planners in particular, to some extent architects and engineers. Probably town planner 1, engineer 2, architect 3, in terms of their interaction with councils during the approval process. But look, if you've got a consultant that's been in an area for quite a long time, they've got a long ongoing relationship with council, they know the particular council people, they can get on the phone. Like if there's an engineering thing that they're not quite sure what council's preference would be or how they would consider a particular matter, then a good engineer to have on your team is somebody who could phone them up. They'll say, oh, okay, look, I'm going to phone such and such a council. I'll get their attitude on it before we go and draw the thing up and find out that they're not going to like it. And so that's pretty important. Town planners as well. Because you've got to get the right town planner. You don't want a yes all the time town planner. Somebody who's prepared to go in and bat as well for you, for your rights. But
there are just so many myths around property development. And when I say myths, I think that some of these statements are in your head. You're listening now. That's what you always thought. So if today's episode is sort of making you think a little bit outside the square and you'd be keen to join our masterclass, it's on the 15th of August, which is like 2 days' time. Or actually, it's tomorrow if you're listening, because this comes out, I think, on about the 14th of August. So there'll be a link below if you want to join that, and that's from 9 to 12:30. It is a live event, 3.5 hours. Bob steps right through the property development process. Many a developer has become very successful from kicking off there. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you will need to register for that because it is on a Zoom session on Saturday morning, which we would love for you to attend. All right, Bob, I think if we look at the difference between fact and fiction, gosh, that's hard to say. Yes,
I know what you mean.
It's been a long day. And we are so consistent with our podcast. Sometimes we're like, I have to do a podcast, and we just get it out. We have to look ahead at what's going on in our life and think, crikey. And then the editor emails us and says, I'm going to be away. And it's like, oh my goodness, we're game on. Anyway, some more lies that property developers consider. I need to quit my job before I do developing. Answer that one.
Do not quit your job before you start developing, because you can start doing a project quite easily, even if you have a full-time job. And I say that because hundreds and hundreds of people through our program have done that.
Yeah, exactly. And next is property development's too risky.
Like anything, there's an element of risk. You need to understand the risk. There's so much you can do to mitigate the risks in property development. So certainly that is not a valid reason.
And that's the reason that we have valuers, and finance has to reach a certain level before they will loan money. And that sort of mitigates those risks. Bob, someone else always gets the good deals.
No. If you're diligent, follow the rules, follow what you've learned. As far as finding good deals, and just be patient. You'll find them. It's not always someone else, because when you find one, somebody else will say somebody else, and it happens to be you.
There you go. Another one is, I can just skip the feasibility, just do a rough one on a rough feasibility.
It'll work out. Yeah, no, it never does. You've got to do the numbers. Property development's all about numbers, and you have to get the numbers right.
You may start with that one, and that's okay to start with, but you need to do a full one, because you're going to have to give a very elaborate one to a broker who's going to give it to a financier who's going to give it to a valuer, and if you don't know where all of that's coming from, it's going to be a nightmare. Bob, what about I can do it without investing in education?
Graveyards full of would-be developers who thought that.
Graveyards full of them.
Graveyards full of them.
Yeah, there's a link below. Have a chat to the team. Maybe we're the right people for you. We're the right people for many people. In fact, I had a great call with a mentoring student. She just joined us. It was about a month or so ago, and it was like week 2, and she's been around for a couple of years. You know who you are, Janita. Anyway, she said, "Oh my God, I just feel so supported. This is so amazing. I can't believe it." And then something came up, and she and Bob were talking. I had my phone on speaker because it was supposed to be a call with me, but they sort of ended up sidetracking me. But anyway, Bob said, "Oh, that might take about a year." And I said, "Well, why would we worry? It took her 2 years to actually sign up from when I initially talked to her." But that was our sort of joke for the day. But to be really honest, we do such a good job within our education program. It doesn't finish at the end of time. We make sure you get through your development. We look after you, and we just don't run with hundreds of numbers. So if you want to work with people who are going to really have your back, then you need to, either contact me directly or reach out to the team or talk to somebody, and why not Property Mastermind? Anyway, Bob, anything else? Any other quick lie that you'd like to just cover off, or did we get through them?
Well, we talked about not having to be millionaires, not having to be a builder. You certainly don't need a degree in property development, but you do need to get educated. Keep out of uni, you don't need that. Age doesn't matter. We've talked about that. I think it's just the right sort of desire to want to do it, and then that's just a process. Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. Bit of a different podcast today, but it's sort of all around the place. But if you're keen on the tomorrow's masterclass on the 15th, Saturday the 15th of August, then there'll be a link below. You'll need to register. That you'll receive the link and you can jump on. It's free and it's fabulous education. All right, bye for now.
Bye.